And obviously, this is a key moment in this official welcome, a traditional protocol reserved for visiting heads of state, and it reflects the importance Ethiopia is attaching to this visit. Right now, you can see the Turkish president stand there, right next to the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. And just moments ago, we also saw military bands there in the official ceremony. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is standing right next to the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed. A very important visit by the Turkish leader to Ethiopia, the first visit in more than a decade. For more on this, let's bring in Suay Nilhan Acikalin. She joins me live from the Turkish capital. She's an associate professor of international relations at Ankara, Haci Bayram Veli University. Great to have you here with us on TRT World. How important is this visit by the Turkish president to Ethiopia, and what could be the potential outcome of the discussions that we are going to see unfold when the two leaders sit for their meeting?
Thank you, Jafar. As you mentioned that, and also Andrew underlined that this timing is quite important for both bilateral relations and the multilateral relations in the African continent. First of all, regarding the bilateral relations, it's the 100th anniversary, basically between the two countries' relations, and it will be expected to be marked with a new cooperation agreements will be signed by the two leaders from trade to aviation, which it will be in a very broad expectation through the sectors. And secondly, of course, multilateral relations, because as we remember that the last year between the Somalia and Ethiopia, Turkey played a very successful mediating role regarding to the maritime access issue vis-a-vis the Somaliland recognition. And it will be expected that today the agenda between the two leaders will be much more focused on the current issues related with the Somaliland after the Israelis' recognition, as well as the other issues in the African continent, civil war in Sudan, and other related issues. So this visit will be so timing, so important, because Ethiopia is one of the biggest country in the African continent with more than 130 million population, which is also the biggest growing population, not only in Africa, but in general sense in international system.
Right, Shuai, stay with me right now. We are watching the military march pass by with the band playing as President Recep Tayyip Erdogan stands alongside Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. This is part of the official welcoming ceremony, certainly a key element of the Turkish president's visit. And the troops, as you can see on your screens right now, they're marching in formation, the military band setting the tempo. And both leaders, we can see them observing this ceremony. A moment certainly that underlines the respect and importance attached to the visit of Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa. Now, Shuai, as I was discussing there with Andrew Hopkins, our diplomatic correspondent, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has taken many state visits in the past few years, but especially when it comes to the Horn of Africa. As Andrew was saying, this is perhaps the most important visit that he has taken.
That's completely right, because right now the Ethiopia both geographical location is basically touch upon the main countries of the Africa, as well as as I mentioned before, the Somaliland issues and their conflict between the Somali and the Ethiopia. This traveling and this visit is more important than the last visit of the president's Africa continent. And also the outcomes and the expectations from the visit not only will be affected by the two countries, but also it has a potential to affect the continent as well, and depends on the situation. It will be a very influential expectation for the Red Sea, and the related geography is very close to the Horn of Africa.
Right, and Shuai, stay with us. Just want to remind our audience what they're seeing on their screens right now. You can really see the scale of this military march now. Multiple units we see there in formation, bands marching alongside the troops. Basically, we can see the music filling the ground at the welcoming ceremony there. And we also, a few moments ago, we also saw the soldiers saluting the two leaders as they march past with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan standing shoulder to shoulder there with the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Both leaders are observing the parade right now. So, Shuai, what are your thoughts on this ceremony? Obviously, what we are seeing on our screens right now is something remarkable for the relationship between the two countries.
Exactly, it is one of the biggest ceremony we have seen in last years, especially in the African continent, but also the foreign visits of the President Erdogan. As we mentioned, that this is an important date for the two countries because Ethiopia is one of the longest and the deepest historical relations we have. We started our relations in the 17th century, and then the official relations is right now 100th year anniversary. And this opening ceremony and the parade also shows that how the Ethiopia give importance to the Turkey and the President Erdogan himself.
Right, and right now we can see the Turkish president greet members of the Ethiopian delegation. Obviously, the Turkish president is also accompanied by senior members of his cabinet, and we'll be seeing some very important discussions when the delegations sit down for their meeting. Now, Suay, in terms of the outcome of this meeting, what is that one agreement that we should keep an eye out for? What do you think that would mean for the relationship between the two countries?
Well, in case of the bilateral relations, there's a high expectation regarding the signing agreement, especially on the trade, technology, and the development. When it comes to the trade, there is a high potential between the two countries on specific sectors like the gold mining, energy, and the industrial sectors, because Ethiopia has a high number of the mining reserves and also energy capability. On the other hand, the aviation can be one of the important sector because, as you already mentioned, that the Ethiopia is a landlocked countries and most of the trade has been going through the aviation. That's why that could be an expectation from the agreement between the two countries. Lastly, there is an expectation, of course, the Ethiopia set a new plans for its own development policies, renewable infrastructures, and also construction sector should be much more developed in upcoming years. That's why there is a high potential between the two countries to see an agreement specifically on the development projects as well.